Good morning, everybody. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio, Sinoland in Shenzhen, just south of the Tropic of Cancer. It is early in the morning. The birds are starting to chirp, and the sun is starting to rise, and we're having amazing weather. It's not good for my scratchy throat, but I'm drinking Yunnan, Chinese Yunnan Baoshan mountain coffee. You can't beat a cup of coffee, a hot cup of coffee in the morning. All right, this is a very exciting article and podcast. The title of it is Noose of Truth is Tightening Around Milton Leitenberg and Company's Collective Neck. Read on and you'll find out what I'm talking about. Lots of pictures, music videos, music recordings, pictures. Get to SoundCloud, YouTube, or my blog page to get the article so that you have all the links. And the main picture, pictured above and entitled, quote, "The only thing they respect or fear," end of quote. This is a wonderful Thomas Nast political cartoon back in the glory days when Harper's Weekly brilliantly captured America's socio-political zeitgeist, for better and for worse. This cartoon cover, dated October 21st, 1871, is taking down the egregiously corrupt members of New York City's Tammany Hall government. Boss Tweed and Company should have gone to the gallows, but they didn't. However, the noose of truth is tightening around Milton Leitenberg and Company's collective neck. They can only offer far-fetched, cockamamie CIA concocted stories and too-good-to-be-true fake evidence that no one has ever seen, supposedly countering the overwhelming proof of the United States' horrific use of germ warfare during the Korean War. Our American Bioweapons Truth Commission, the ABTC, has already blown their laughable faux fables to smithereens, and we've just gotten started. Public notice. We are still looking for any and all documents in any language related to America's and Japan's use of bioweapons in China and Korea. We are especially looking for the PDF files of the ISCR in other languages other than English and Chinese, which we already have. Below are the names of the ISCR in several languages. If you find any of these or other related documents in electronic or print form, please contact me at jeff@brownlonglois, BROWNLANGLOIS.com. If you'd like to be recognized, we will have an acknowledgments page when our global ABTC online library is officially launched for all the world to access and use. ISCR, complete name in various languages, and there's a list of about 7 or 8 languages of the ISCR report with the full title. Please, if you find anything involving this topic, contact me. All right, here we go. Today I am pleased and honored to give the world all the exciting updates on the American Bioweapons Truth Commission, ABTC, and our ABTC Global Online Library. Over the last several months, an amazing alignment of people committed to speaking truth to power and demanding justice has coalesced into a dynamic research and document collection center for all of humankind. It all started when someone sent me a link to a Tom Powell article about America's use of bacterial warfare during the Korean War. I was miffed because in book number 2 of the China trilogy, China Rising, Capitalist Roads, Socialist Destinations, I wrote what I thought was a very complete and well-researched chapter about the West, especially the U.S., having a long, sordid, evil history of using chemical and biological weapons, not only on non-Westerners, but even on their own citizens, countless times, especially poor and dark-skinned people. Yet Tom's article showed me that I had missed America's blatant bacterial warfare in Korea. Why? As I later learned, there was a reason. It is one of the most ferociously suppressed and censored crimes against humanity, with a tsunami of Western propaganda cranked out by so-called researchers providing fake evidence and preposterous Alice in Wonderland stories about how they purportedly came across these bogus documents, which no one has ever seen except them. Very Kafkaesque, isn't it? We have the evidence to prove you wrong, and we will use it in the court of public opinion to destroy you, but no one can see the evidence except us. So I contacted Tom Powell and invited him on my China Rising Radio Sinoland show. We immediately hit it off, and I was amazed at everything he recounted during our talk together. It really is a must-hear interview. Tom talked about the mysterious, long-lost International Scientific Commission report, abbreviated ISCR, that was published in 1952 and headed up by one of the most distinguished 20th century researchers and sinologist, Dr. Joseph Needham from Britain. At the same time, I had just finished reading Needham's biography, The Man Who Loved China by Simon Winchester. Tom pointed out how Winchester went out of his way to discredit Needham by portraying him, yes, as a brilliant genius, but also as an eccentric nut job, to set him up to be the bumbling dupe for agreeing to head up the ISCR. Tom also revealed to me that Winchester lied in his book by suggesting that Needham had recanted his insistence that the evidence of the ISCR clearly demonstrated that the United States used bacterial warfare in China and Korea. In fact, he never did until his last dying breath, and wrote that as far as he knew, none of the other ISC members recanted either. The ISCR was relentlessly attacked by Western propaganda, and Needham's great name and lifelong scientific and anthropological successes were vilified by these same media jackboots in order to try to trash the bulletproof evidence in the report. At the same time, the West Langley Vauxhall Cross spooks began gathering up every print copy they could find, to the point that one copy was found in a used bookstore in the UK and sold at auction. You can safely assume that the spooks paid whatever it took to keep it from public scrutiny. They probably used its book pages to start several barbecues at home. They love to do these kinds of symbolic acts. What is even more devious is that Western propaganda can say that the ISCR is readily available, the 50-page executive summary, that is, which can be found online if you look hard enough. But what made the West spies and their media myrmidons shit in their drawers was not the summary, but the 600-plus pages of appendices, chock-block full of all the open and shut evidence, many testimonies, detailed lab analyses, maps, flight patterns, photo plates of bacteria vectors, infected insects and rodents, bomb casings, and numerous tables of data. You want a smoking gun in the hand of the accused? It's the ISCR's appendices that are the neutron bomb of case-closed evidence and truth. You cannot read it and come to any other conclusion. The U.S. actively used bacterial weapons on the Chinese and Koreans during the war. No wonder Dr. Needham stuck to his guns. He was a man of great integrity and one of the best scientists in his day. Likewise, no wonder this shameless West has spent untold amounts of time, money, and resources to send the full 667-page ISCR down the Orwellian memory hole, never to be seen again, history denied, de-written, and expunged forever. Until now. I learned that the ISCR was also published in Chinese, Korean, French, and Russian. Living in China and reading the language, I decided to see if I could find the Chinese version via antique book dealers. Amazingly, I found 2 copies and immediately scooped them up. They cost me about $50 each. I'm sure much less than what the CIA MI6 paid for that auctioned copy sold. It was really cool to see all the photo plates, maps, tables, flight patterns, and the rest. But the infamous and elusive English version was still not in our hands. Godfrey Roberts, whom I've interviewed a number of times on my show, is one of the best online researchers on planet Earth, so I contacted him and told him the story. Using connections at a well-known East Coast university where he used to teach, Godfrey was able to get behind the public's firewall and sift through the school's database reserved for professors and researchers. Incredibly, Godfrey found the 667-page English language ISCR in these archives in downloadable PDF format. What a revelation! We now had in our hands the electronic version of one of the most suppressed and censored books in the history of modern publishing, going back almost 70 years. PDF is great, but for research, journalism, and writing, a document needs to be in text format for copying, pasting, editing, word search, etc. Godfrey found a guy who did just that, so we can now offer to the whole wide world the complete 667-page PDF ISCR book and appendices, as well as all of the same in text format in Chinese and English. Here they are, free to humanity. ISCR PDF in English, FTP hyperlink. ISCR text in English, ISCR PDF in Chinese, ISCR text in Chinese. Download them, read them, use them, get out the truth. Today we are also including our files to date in English, Russian, and Chinese for the Khabarovsk trials 1950 to try those members of Japan's infamous biochemical unit 731 based in Harbin, China. Since the 1930s, at least those the United States did not sneak back home to teach the Yanks how to weaponize germs. And the Khabarovsk trials 1950, download the FTP files and shout it out to the world. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Our official ABTC Global Online Library will have hundreds of files and audiovisual media for the whole world to freely access, uncensored, exposing one of the greatest crimes of the 20th century. Up to this point, a trio, Tom Powell contacted George Burchett. His father, journalist Wilfred Burchett, exposed America's barbaric crimes against humanity in Korea, as had Tom's mother and father, John and Sylvia Powell. All three of them, like Joseph Needham, were harassed, persecuted, and vilified by Western propaganda for many years for speaking truth to power and demanding justice. George is fluent in Russian and has quickly added hundreds of pages of documentation to the ABTC library. Russian translates beautifully into English, so all of these documents are in English as well. We were now a quartet. At the same time, via the Greenville Post, I met David Pear, and given his knowledge and expertise in Korea, I invited him on my show, and he quickly joined our ABTC. David's interview on my show is another must-listen podcast. We were now a quintet. I then read Jeff K's articles on the subject, on the subject. Tom Powell reached out to him, and he has recently joined up, lending valuable expertise about the U.S. pilots' testimonies and the effects of torture. He has added several critical documents to the ABTC Global Online Library. The Truth Commission is now a solid sextet. For Milton Leitenberg and the other propaganda dissimulators, symbolic rope burns must be cutting deeper, as the noose of truth and justice is already rapidly tightening around their collective neck with each document we add to the ABTC online library. We will have documents never before seen by Westerners. Working with antique dealers in China, I recently bought several books totaling almost 700 pages, all originals from the Korean War era. Like the 2 copies of the ISCR in Chinese, it's a rush of blood to the head to be holding 65-year-old books in my hands, volumes that will help rectify terrible injustices and outrageous lies in world history. I've already scanned them into Chinese PDF, and we will get them transcribed into text and translated in English. And then there's a picture of my 2 books with the byline, I still get goosebumps when I look through these 1952 ISCR books. And now, like their English homologues, they are for the entire Chinese-speaking world to use and report on in PDF and text form. In any case, the 667-page ISCR is more than enough to demolish Leitenberg and Company's wild, unsubstantiated claims about fake documents that no one except them have supposedly ever seen. These CIA MI6 minions are just as ridiculous and derisory as me saying that I really do have Jesus Christ's Holy Grail, but you can't see it. You just have to take my word for it. Honest. I really am telling the truth. Trust me, said the Mad Hatter. And then there's a great photo of Johnny Depp in the Alice in Wonderland movie. Pictured above is Johnny Depp, made up as Milton Leitenberg and Company. The latter have spent the last 65 years accusing honorable, honest people like Dr. Joseph Needham, Wilfred Burchett, and John and Sylvia Powell of being nutjob dupes for exposing America's heinous bioweapons attacks on the Koreans and Chinese during that war. How? By telling us they have evidence, but no one except them can see it. It's top secret, you know, yet we are supposed to trust this character in the picture above. No more rabbit holes, Mad Hatter Leitenberg. We are launching the American Bioweapons Truth Commission Global Online Library and are screaming truth to power at the top of our lungs, demanding justice for all the victims. We are your worst nightmare, an unstoppable force. Then there's a recording of a song called Mad Hatter, and the byline says, today I was working on this article. Out of thousands of CDs on my hard drive, I randomly chose Cast's, C-A-S-T, Cast's album, Mother Nature Calls, which I had never heard before. Tapping away on my keyboard, all of a sudden I'm hearing a song called, you guessed it, Mad Hatter. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up. Call it serendipity. I think it's a sign, and a bad one at that, for Milton and his gang of propaganda puppets. So I dedicate this song to all you fake news dissimulators. It's got your names written all over it. I bet if we played it backwards, we could hear your monikers being repeated over and over again, Beatles Revolution number 9 style. On the contrary, the ABTC Global Online Library, will have no hidden documents. Everything we acquire will be available to all of humanity for education, research, book writing, journalism, speaking truth to power, and seeking justice. For such exciting and revelatory news, we need to musically celebrate. And what better thematic song than Gallows Pole? Led Zeppelin, like many songs from their first 3 albums, stole it from the original, giving no credit until years later, which was recorded by Leadbelly before Jimmy Page and Robert Plant were even born. I'll take the mother lode any day. Leadbelly saw many of his fellow black American brethren hung like dogs from trees, walls, and gallows across the U.S. No member of any modern rock pop group can say that. Can't access YouTube? Here is the studio version from the album Led Zeppelin III, which I listened to 1,000 times in high school. And there's the song included. This is Jeff J. Brown, China Rising Radio Sinoland, signing out from Shenzhen. Hope you have a wonderful week.